Good morning, everyone. Well, I went to the Maxime Bernier rally last night. Maxime tweeted about it on November 12th, and he says, quote, "Come see me in Etobicoke Wednesday evening," and it's People's Party link, etc., etc. And I did, and here's some pictures. So this is the venue parking lot. The venue parking lot was very full. We weren't able to park in the parking lot because it was full. And there was an overflow lot in the back that probably wasn't full, but we parked across the street. It was right across the street from Molson, like the Molson Brewery. And we couldn't park in the Molson Brewery because they had gates and whatever, but there was a strip mall that we could park at. There were a lot of other people parking at the strip mall. Here's the venue. Here's my shadow. Here's inside the venue. This is when we got there. This was about quarter to 7. Maxime didn't get on the stage for another half an hour. So there was quite a diverse crowd. The ratio of men to women were about 70% men, 30% women, I would say, maybe a little less, 75% men, potentially. And the makeup of the crowd was very diverse. There was a lot of different colored everybody. You know, there was a lot of diversity within the crowd, which I thought was, we're in Etobicoke, so if there wasn't diversity in the crowd, I would have been very confused. So it was good to see, though, and everybody was, it wasn't contentious. It was a very, the crowd was all together, and I thought it was pretty good. So there is, these are all just photos from inside the venue, and here's a quick video that I shot. I'm not going to show you the whole thing, just the last 20 odd seconds or so. It's loud. I hope it's not too loud. I'm going to turn it down and then bring it up. So sorry.
We decided.
So that's that. And sorry that I didn't get a better video. I came with the intention of recording it, but there's a lot of pros right here. So they had a center stage with all the media cameras and all that other stuff. So I really don't have the equipment to record an event like this. So I just took some photos and took a short video. But I wanted to link you guys and tell you what he talked about. So this speech at the Rebel, it's his stump speech. And this speech is basically the speech he gave last night. It's not exactly the same. Like, there's a little bit of regional difference and whatever, but it's mostly the same. I'm not going to show you this speech right now because this is a Rebel event, and I believe this is probably copywritten for them. So I don't want to infringe on their copyright. So please do go watch the speech. It's really interesting. What I did do, though, is my notes are in the description, and I'll show you here. I've time indexed kind of what his speech is about, and I've given you some bullet points. So if you want to see the bullet points, that's cool. If you want to see kind of what he's talking about, the speech focuses on a few things. So he talks about pandering. He talks about, well, let's go through it. He says the differences between the People's Party and the Conservative Party of Canada, Andrew Scheer. One is supply management. He says it costs families hundreds of dollars a year, and it's a litmus test. If you can't resist small cartels, how could you resist a large cartel? Second point was immigration. He says we're a country built on immigration, but mass immigration is causing backlash everywhere. Our immigration policy shouldn't change the social fabric of our country, and that's a big applause line. Numbers should go up. Says all of the reports, but Bernier is the only one saying it needs to go back to the average under Harper, which is 250,000. That's the least of any Canadian leader in any serious leadership bid at this point in time. So that is something to know. Regardless, there is no serious Canadian leader calling for zero immigration. None, not one. And regardless of your stance on that, well, that's interesting to know, right? Not one Canadian leader is calling for zero immigration. And because the reason for that is economic, right? Just so everybody's aware, Canada, in order to maintain our tax base size, we have people who are aging out of paying taxes, right? The boomers are all getting too old to maintain jobs. So those jobs and those taxes are turning from a net gain for the government into a net loss. So in order to continue to have enough money to pay for all of the stuff, all of the entitlements, that's what they're called, entitlements, they need more people paying taxes. That's why nobody's talking about turning down immigration, because there's no other way to put it. They need the money. That's it, period. So we've gone from a situation in 100 years ago when they brought in the income tax as a temporary measure to pay for the war, World War I. The income tax has never gone away, And now we're paying more and more and more and more. And we can't afford to stop paying it because we have all of these entitlements. Wild, right? So Bernier is saying $250,000 a year. Scheer has not proposed a number. They want to do a study. Scheer has also not taken any position on the UN Compact on Migration. They want to do a study. So I wonder when the studies are going to come in, maybe after October 2019. So he says Max isn't afraid to have a number. Max isn't afraid to he doesn't need to wait for a study. He says, I'm taking my position and that's that. So he talks about corporate welfare. He wants to stop paying. He says, do you want to stop paying taxes to give that money to big companies like Bombardier? And that was a big crowd pleasing line. He does that one here. And I thought that was pretty funny. Failing companies shouldn't be propped up by taxpayer dollars. I agree, Max. Helping politicians buy votes with taxpayer dollars. That's what corporate welfare does. And Max is not for it. Scheer wants to use regional agencies, quote, more efficiently. The regional agencies that carve up all of that Alberta money, that sweet, sweet Alberta money that goes to support Ontario and mostly Quebec. They want regional people, people from Ontario and Quebec to dole that money out. Right, Alberta? That sounds great, doesn't it? No, it doesn't. Corporate welfare is the same as provincial welfare, and it breeds continued dependence. We don't need that. Let's figure our own stuff out. We can afford it. Yeah, we're a country, but Alberta doesn't need to pay for the rest of Canada, and it shouldn't. Okay, climate change is number 4. He says, we are not going to destroy our economy on this subject. What we will do in Canada will have zero effect on global climate. Carbon tax is virtue signaling. Scheer whipped the caucus to vote in favor of climate change. The Paris Accord commits a wealth transfer scheme, and Max is the only politician who will take Canada out of the Paris Accords. And he will not impose any new taxes or regulations or subsidy on Canadians for carbon. So that's number 4. Number 5 is equalization payments, and I kind of touched on that. Equalization payments are unfair to provinces that receive no money. He says that he is from Quebec, and he's ashamed that that province has had equalization payments for decades. And he says it's designed as a welfare trap that keeps the provinces from developing their own economy, their own stuff, their own resources, their own natural resources. And Ontario is a great example. We have the Ring of Fire up north that has been untouched for 15 years by the Liberals. Untouched. Not even a road. So that's a very good example why we're getting we're getting equalization payments from Alberta, but don't bother mining up north. Don't bother creating jobs for Ontarians. Don't bother doing any of that because we're getting all that Alberta money, guys. Keep it going. It's insane. It doesn't make sense. It encourages higher taxes. And Andrew Scheer is silent on it. What's your position on any of these things, Mr. Scheer? Really, you need to take a position, and people keep telling me I'm wrong, but I made this analogy and I really like it, so I'm gonna tell you guys about this analogy. It's like Mr. Scheer took a poll, and most people wanted donuts, and some people wanted cookies, and some people wanted Twinkies, and Scheer shows up with cookies. Fine, it's fine, but it's not donuts, and most people wanted donuts, and he's not going to talk about donuts. Don't mention donuts, but I've got all these cookies here, guys. Cookies are the gang, warfare, and all these other policies that nobody cares about. We have real problems in Canada that are absolutely affecting Canadians right now. Gang warfare is maybe affecting people in Toronto, but Faith Goldie gave them an option and they rejected it soundly. They said, John Tory, we want some more gun bans. Let's do that. So rolling out a failed platform of a third place mayoral candidate seems weird, Mr. Scheer. Seems really weird. One of the other parts of his stump speech, he says, we're going to abolish foreign aid. He said, doing all of this costs money. Where are we going to get the money? We're going to abolish foreign aid. And he says specifically, if there's a problem in the world, if there's a disaster, a natural disaster, of course Canada will be there. He said, but we're going to stop building roads in Africa to virtue signal, basically. He says at 2015, a foreign policy that focused on Canadians and safety instead of bringing people to Canada. And he wants a public-private healthcare system. He wants to privatize Canada Post, and the biggest applause line was cut the CBC budget. So all of those things are in here. He talks about more. It's worth the watch. The last thing that I wanted to mention is this is added recently. He talks about this in this speech as well, but he painstakingly went through this last night. He said, Mr. Scheer, this is a quote from Andrew Scheer last week, and I found the article. And so this is November 3rd, so not quite last week, almost 2 weeks now. He says, quote, "We have an opportunity to say that we are a pragmatic centrist party with room for lots of different views on lots of different issues, but with fundamental understanding of how prosperity is actually created, how you actually lift people out of poverty and create better opportunities." So is the Conservative Party of Canada a centrist party now? That's a quote directly from Andrew Scheer. Are they a centrist party? They have all sorts of room for ideas, but not Maxime Bernier's ideas. He had to leave publicly because you wouldn't adopt his ideas. But now that he's gone, you've got lots of room for all sorts of ideas, just not those crazy Bernier ideas. Mr. Scheer, you keep aiming at that bullseye and you throw that arrow and it keeps missing. Like in the ground before it hits the target or way over the target. You show up with cookies. Everybody wants donuts. What are you doing? Take a position on something, man. It's unbelievable. And this was the last little bit. As I went to a Bernier event last night, apparently the Calgary City Police were taking pictures of all the license plate at the Rebel TV event, which Bernier spoke at, and so did Lindsay Shepherd. Calgary Hate Crimes Unit was also in attendance inside the event. Why? What does the Rebel TV have to do with hate? Are we all the next Tommy Robinsons? And I said Tony Robinson before, but I meant Tommy Robinson. So here's the police officer, and I've seen a few other pictures of him actually holding the camera up and aiming it and being talked to by a citizen who was doing it. And I couldn't refine that picture. I thought I saved it, but I didn't. So here's what I could find. But apparently, yeah, they're taking photos of people who are interested in free speech or speaking about things that our two main parties, the LPC and the CPC, refuse to talk about. So it's kind of concerning when you know history. Thanks for watching, everybody. I really enjoyed the Bernier rally last night. I really enjoyed watching the Rebel Media's speech. You should go watch it. It's everything that Andrew Scheer isn't. Thanks for watching, everybody. peoplespartyofcanada.ca. Check it out. Check Mr. Bernier's speech out and maybe start an EDA. There's 140 EDAs across the country so far, and we need 300 and, I can't remember the exact number right now, and it's the end of the video, so I'm not going to check. So we need more than 300. I'll talk to you guys this afternoon.